Okay, if you fly your models long enough, you will crash and you will have to repair them. So I flew this guy long enough to have a little incident. The tree came in front of my helicopter and I tried to avoid it, but couldn't. So in this video, I'd like to do two things. One, how to repair this. It has a wire on it, and the wire is cut. It's the LED wire. I would like to show you how to fix that. And also, this is the first time I'm opening the C123. It shouldn't be any different than the C187, but it does have minor detail differences. So we're gonna go through that, and hopefully you'll learn something out of this, and so will I, because it's the first time I'm opening it. All right, so as always, I like to take off the blades first. First things, safety first. Take off this guy as well. If this was a bigger helicopter, I would have numbered the blades and to make sure I put the right blades back to, the right grip. But since it's a small helicopter and balancing the blades is not as big of a problem, it's fine to do it this way. Although it doesn't hurt to just put it back where it was before. Just taking it off. And keep the screws separate. Next, we're going to take off the undercarriage. Oh, I'm sorry, the skid. Not sure if it's a Phillips. Put these screws separately. So the saying goes, if you don't crash, you don't fly. You're not flying. Something like that. At least for models. Hope that's not the case for the real things. This should come right off. There you go, came off. All right, so now let's focus on all these other they should be all the same size screws, but we'll have to double check that. Seems like it. Get the smaller. I had to get the smaller screwdriver. These are all Phillips head screws and they seem to be the same size so far. They're not coming out just like the other C187. Just leave it in there and then you can pop it off later. I'm just going to video this because the first opening is always interesting. You don't know what to expect, so it's good to see the whole thing. I've looked at the exploder diagram in the manual. See, the manual actually has an exploder diagram that shows how it's put together. So, you know, we expect the motor to come off, but I'm not, you know, I may not need to open these screws, but we'll see. Okay, so we've taken off, let's see what else, there's one more here. Where that came out, okay. So let's see if okay, comes right off. There must be another one. Oh, on this side, there's more screws. Go ahead and open all of them because I'm not sure which ones are actually connected to the other side of the fuse. This is probably for the frame. These are the frame screws. Luckily, all the screws are the same size. So that means, you know, you don't have to think about, okay, what goes where. Okay, so let's see. This opens, there we go. Opened up nicely. And yeah, those were the frame screws, if you see. See, those were the frame screws. And here's the assembly. That is, here's the, let's see which way is the best way to do it. Okay, we do have to open these screws to get the motor off. Darn. This is smaller than a 1.5 millimeter. Okay, so these screws are actually 1.3 millimeter, not 1.5. So you got to use a 1.3 millimeter hex to open them up. I don't know why they would do that. It's not. And they do have, no, I thought maybe they had thread lock on them, but they don't. Be careful with thread lock and plastic. Thread lock sometimes eats some of the plastic parts, so you don't want that. Okay, we'll pry this open slowly. There we go. Okay. And here we are. Here we are. All the antennas fell off. So remember that. See the antennas? They all fall off. So we got to remember where to put them. There's 3 of them here. One up here, but that one didn't fall off. Okay. So, okay. I don't need to open the whole thing, but just to show everybody what's included inside this. You see the brushless motor? This is the best part of this helicopter. There's no gear. It's just a direct drive brushless motor. Okay, then they have 3 servos. You got 1, 2, and 3. And then you have your, this is your ESC in the bottom. And then you have your flight controller, the gyro, and your swash plate with the 3 servos. Elevator is a servo in the back, aileron and pitch. And that's your antenna for the radio. Very nice. Okay, so let's see what happened here. So to repair this, I'm gonna have to pull out this wire from here and solder it back on and put it back in. So here they have put some, they have a little bit of a, looks like some glue, okay. Let's take out this wire. See, it's cut, but the other one is still intact. So I may need to add a piece of wire to this because it's cut, and if you go into the fin itself, there's a removable part here. This actually comes off. You see that? So there's the other wire. They have hot glue here. They've used hot glue for this stuff. So this other wire needs to be extended and reconnected and soldered to the other one. And I've seen some damage on this one too. You see it? That would be also, I would put some, I would cover that. Okay. Okay, so I found some wire, suitable gauge wire, same for LEDs. I've cut one on the red one. I'm going to go ahead and connect it. I have shrink wrap here for the same size wire. I'll go ahead and solder this on here and extend it out. Okay, so I soldered this part, but it's so tiny that if I use any kind of shrink wrap here, it's not going to fit. So what I normally use in these situations is liquid tape. So this is what I'm going to put on there just to make sure there's no shorts. But I put liquid tape on there. On this other side, I was able to solder it, and so it's going to just fit in there. Okay, so off camera, I went ahead and installed this back, and you can see that it's working. Soldered it back. I will go ahead and fit it properly now, back together. So first thing to do is put one side in, take the battery out. Okay, I'll put one side in here. We'll have to put one side in first. Make sure it goes in the slots. See the slots? Each frame connector is going to go in the right spots. Connect those first, and then move on to the next side. Okay, so I connected these 3 screws first to hold the mechanics inside. That allows you to go and place the optical flow sensor where it belongs, which is right here. Just slide it in its place. Okay. Make sure the wires are away from the battery compartment area. And you have your antenna. It's gonna go just hanging back here. So now you can also go and reconnect the motor first with its screws. And remember, it was a 1.3 millimeter screw. In retrospect, I don't think you needed to take out the motor. The motor was fine because it didn't have any. So if you have to open it, you don't need to open the motor. It was just a lesson learned here. I'll put it back on. So you don't even need to have a 1.3 hex unless you're changing the motor to open the fuselage. I'm glad I got this though. Came in handy. Okay, once you have the motor back together, you want to make sure that you place your antenna somewhere where it doesn't get pinched. And put the sandwich back together gently. There are areas where you can slide it in. There. There. Don't force it in, just make sure that there's adequate clearance. Alright, since it's the first time I'm doing it, it's a little goofy. Trying to fit the wires so that it kind of closes properly. So that's where I put the antenna here. Lots of stuff going in between here. There you go. Looks like we got it. Oh, make sure you're... Anyways, you got to play with it. Make sure you do it slowly, and so it goes all back together properly. Okay, I would be lying to you if I tell you that it was easy. It took a few attempts. You have to make sure that the wires inside aren't sitting in between these places where the screws go in. And you have to make sure your antenna is free of being jammed, because in the back of the antenna, as you notice, there was a thicker part, and that thicker part should be, you know, tucked in between the areas where, you know, these bolts or sorry, screws go in. Okay, so I'll go ahead and tighten this up, put the screws back up together, and let's check one more time to make sure the wires didn't get messed up. And looks like it's all good. Okay, she's almost back together. Just one more thing I wanted to tell you guys and gals. When you put these back in, you have to make sure that the pins are on the same side. Don't try to force it other way, because you're going to damage the pins. So you just make sure it's in the right side, and then just very easily, gently push it in. And then it goes back up. The other thing I wanted to tell you, these antennas. Okay, I put the fuse back together, and then you could actually just push them right back in. You don't need to mess with, you know, gluing it or anything like that. You could put the fuse back together, both halves, and then this I push it into the slots, and it just snaps right in. Okay, I'll go ahead and put the blades back, and she's ready to roll. Okay, she's all back together, and one thing I want to make sure I mention is when you put the blades back on, make sure that the leading edge of the blade is facing the linkage for the blade grip. Okay, that's the blade grip, and this is the main blade of the helicopter. This is the leading edge, and this turns this way, leading edge, which means, you know, it hits the air first. And on these helicopters, and most helicopters that I have, the linkage that connects to the swash plate is on the leading edge. So this blade turns this way. And also when you tighten these grips, it shouldn't be very loose and it shouldn't be very tight. Like it should be just like that. You know, it doesn't really drop. But, and they all should be like that. Okay, otherwise you might have, if it's too loose, when this thing starts up, the blades may just hit the edges of the grip when they initially start due to the torque and damage here. And you'll have marks on your blades. And if it's too tight, you're gonna have vibrations because it's not going to find its center of, its center when it's spinning. Okay, so again, we verified that the repair works. It's all fixed. We'll put this battery back in, turn it on, and the damaged fin is repaired. The lights are working again, and she's ready to rock and roll. Thanks for watching.